Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Alejandra. Thank you so much for watching. In today's video, we're going to be reviewing this bad boy right here. This is the Morphe X James Charles palette. This was their collaboration that they recently just did. They came out with this palette and a brush set. I didn't purchase a brush set just because I felt like it was kind of pointless, but I am kind of regretting that now. I do feel like I need that brush set. I've actually been using this palette for a couple days now, so I really kind of have like a feel for it. I've used the majority of the colors. The only colors I haven't really touched too much are the neutral shades, but I kind of assumed that they'd be good anyways. I was more so curious to see how like the blues, the yellows, the greens worked, because I know those were going to be like more tough colors to get the formula right. But yeah, if you guys want to see my thoughts on this palette, then just keep on watching. Okay, so this is what the outside of the palette looks like. Super pretty. I do like this black on black. I think it looks nice. And the inside looks like this. I've been playing around with this palette for the last couple of days, so it is well loved already. And yeah, it's just such a beautiful palette. Like, I don't even think you guys seeing it on camera is enough. So to start off, I am gonna do swatches. I did want to swatch this because I saw like a lot of weird stuff on the internet about the swatches. Okay, so hopefully you guys can see. I know this whole setup is crazy, but I felt like it was the easiest way to show you guys what I was doing. But yeah, we're gonna start off with the first row. We're gonna start from left to right. So now that we're done with the swatches, I'm gonna go in and do like a quick look with the palette just so you guys can see how it looks on camera, and then I'll give you guys my thoughts on the palette. Okay, so first I'm gonna go in with some eyeshadow primer. For one eye I'm gonna use concealer, and for the other eye I'm gonna use eyeshadow primer. The reason I'm doing this is because I have seen on the internet that a lot of people that are used to using concealer as a base, a lot of them were saying that they were having problems with this palette, and James even came out himself and said that this palette works a lot better with an eyeshadow primer. All the looks I've done, I've used an eyeshadow primer. The reason I did that was because I had places to go, like I was doing my makeup for work, so I needed the look to work. I wasn't gonna risk it and use this concealer when he said that it does work better with a primer. And I feel like nowadays a lot of people don't use primer. Like when I watch YouTube videos, I see people use concealer more than anything. So I'm just curious as to how different it's gonna be with a concealer as opposed to an eyeshadow primer. So like I said, one eye is gonna have the primer and the other eye is gonna have the concealer. And I'm not gonna set my primer, I'm just gonna leave it wet, and I'm gonna set my concealer because I feel like most people do set concealer when they use it as a base. So this eye right here has the concealer, this eye has the eyeshadow primer. But to begin, I'm gonna go in with this yellow shade right here. It's like a bright yellow. So this is the eye with primer. Now we're gonna go in with the eye that has concealer. I definitely have to go in with a lot more on this eye than I did on this eye. It's coming out a lot lighter on this eye. I don't know if you guys can tell, but it's a lot more vibrant on this eye than it is on this eye. It came out a lot like lighter on here than I did on here. So I'm just gonna try to layer this color so they even out a bit more. I don't necessarily think that the one with concealer looks bad. It's just a lot lighter. The color came out a lot lighter. It's still very vibrant and pretty. It just translated a lot darker on this eye than it did on this one. One thing I will say is I do feel like you kind of have to dip in a lot with these shades. I kind of thought that I was gonna have to go in with a little bit at a time because like it was gonna be super pigmented right away. I don't think that's the case. I feel like you have to build the color up more than you would expect since these colors are so bright. But I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's better because the colors do blend really beautifully together. Yeah, so I don't know if you guys can tell, but this eye is just coming out a lot more vibrant than this eye. Again, this is the eye with the primer and this is the one with the concealer. And with this palette, it is recommended to use a primer and not a concealer. So I feel like you can get the eyes to look the same. I just feel like it takes a lot more work to build up the color on this eye than it is on this eye. And even like now, this is probably like my fourth, fifth layer I've gone in with the orange, and you can still tell it's not as bright as this one. Next, going in with this shade right here. It's like a corally color. I'm gonna go right in the middle with this shade. So not in the inner corner, but in the middle. To this color right here, right underneath. It's a red shade, and we're gonna go on the outer corner with that color. I'm gonna go in with this shade right here. It's like a light pink shade. I'm just gonna wet my brush with a little bit of setting spray just to get that color to pop a little bit more. Just to add a little something, I'm gonna go in with this purple shade right here on the very outer corner. Just to deepen up that outer corner, I'm gonna go in with this dark purple shade. Going in with that first yellow shade, just to kind of bring that yellow back into the look. So I'm gonna go in with some purples on the lower lash line. I'm gonna start off with this one right here. And then going in with this orange shade right here for the inner corner. Just to make the color that I applied into the first third of my eye pop, I'm gonna go in with this heavy metal glitter liner from Urban Decay. This is in the shade Volume. Okay, so I'm gonna finish up the eyes. I'm just gonna put on a little bit of mascara and I'll be back to let you guys know my final thoughts on this palette. Okay, so I'm back. I did go in with a little bit of eyeliner. I used this purple eyeliner from Urban Decay in the shade Voodoo, and I used this liquid lipstick by Anastasia Beverly Hills in the shade Dolce. Oh my god, I'm obsessed with this lip and this eye combo. I think it looks so cute. Okay, so on to my final thoughts about this palette. I love it. I am obsessed with this palette. I have been using it for like 4 days straight, and I feel like just looking at this gives me so much creativity. I get so many ideas of looks that I want to do. I just feel like you look at one color and you can automatically like figure out something to do just because the colors surrounding it go so well with it. And I just feel like there's so many looks you can do with this. You can mix so many different colors. Like I said, I've already done 3 looks and they're all completely different. I love this palette. I feel like you can do so much with it, and I also love that it has neutral shades. With that being said, if you're someone who doesn't like color, I do not think this palette is worth it at all. There's so many different colors in this palette that I feel like if you're not gonna use all of them, then what's the point? There's so many palettes that have these top shades up here, and even some of these like pinks and purples I've seen in palettes, but these greens and blues, I don't know, I feel like they're so different, and that's really what drew me to this palette, were actually these shades right here. The rest I felt like I had in other palettes, but these shades down here really catched my attention, and I feel like if you're not gonna play with these shades, then like there's no point, because they were my favorite out of the whole palette. I think these shades worked even a little bit better than some of these warm shades. This red was a little underwhelming. I wanted it to be a lot more vibrant than what it was, but it still worked. This pink I didn't really like at all, honestly, but other than that, I loved all these shades. Honestly, like the looks you can come up with are gonna be amazing, and I feel like you can really like be creative and different with this palette. I feel like there's so many fun things you can do, but like I said, if you don't like color, there's no point. Even if you were just to use like the neutral shades and stuff, there's so many palettes that are smaller and will give you more variety than this one will. Another thing I wanted to mention, I do not recommend using this palette with concealer. I know a lot of people use concealer as a base. Even I said in one of my videos that I feel like it's the same thing using a primer and a concealer. But when it comes to this palette, I can definitely tell the difference when you use a concealer as opposed to using a primer. I think since a lot of these colorful shades are pressed pigments as opposed to just regular eyeshadows, I think that's why they work better with a base. I have seen videos of people who use it on top of concealer that's wet and it just looks like it's a hot mess, so I really wouldn't recommend doing that. If you don't have a primer and you don't want to buy one, then this palette, I don't think it's gonna work out for you. If you do have an eyeshadow primer though, I feel like that's what you should for sure use. Don't try using concealer, girl. It's not gonna work out for you. I mean, both my eyes came out pretty much the same, but I do like this one a lot better. I can tell the difference. I don't think you can tell on camera just because my light is so bright, and like with my backdrop and everything, and with my whole face being done, I feel like you can't really tell the difference. But as I was doing it, I had to sit here and blend a lot more on this eye. The colors were like kind of, they weren't really sitting on my eyelid well either. Like this red, you can't really tell, but it's kind of starting to disappear on some spots, whereas on this eye it's there. It looks good, it's bright, and yeah. And I am gonna keep doing looks on this, so if you guys want some tutorials using this palette, let me know if you guys are gonna go out and buy it, because I think it's a great palette. It's affordable too. Like Morphe palettes are so cheap, and I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't always the biggest fan of Morphe, but now I feel like I am discovering the brand more and I'm starting to like it a lot more. But yeah, that was it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.